as well as I think social media is a really important avenue for us to be sharing the story and providing windows, doors, and mirrors of what's happening in our schools. And we want to have mirrors where kids can see themselves in their learning experience. We want windows where they can look out and see the world. And then we want to create doors where we're inviting community in to interact with our students. And social media can be a really effective pathway to nurture those factors.
You're listening to the smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This is our District Talk segment where we interview district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday shine online. Now, let's get back to the interview.
Hi, I'm Nicole Swigart. I'm superintendent of Rapid City Area Schools in Rapid City, South Dakota. We have 12,400 students and 23 buildings.
Hi, I'm Scott Elder. I'm the superintendent of the Albuquerque Public Schools. We have 143 schools and about 67,000 students that we're happy to serve.
Yeah, hello, my name's Adam Swinyard. I'm the superintendent of Spokane Public Schools in Eastern Washington State. We're a district of approximately 30,000 students across 58 schools. Happy to be here today.
Okay, the first question I have for you, how has the prevalence of technology in the classroom impacted student learning and engagement?
In my 35 years as a career educator, all in Rapid City Area Schools, I've seen technology really grow. It's incredibly important. When I graduated from high school, of course, we were still using typewriters. Now we have students with one-to-one computers. So that journey has just been incredible to see.
Well, I think the prevalence of technology in our classrooms has had a tremendous impact on our students and on their learning. Reality is younger kids are growing up in a world of social media and of instant notification and total access to devices. So we have to adapt. We have to have devices in our classroom. We have to use video. We have to have interactive boards. You have to have the full package if you're really going to reach kids these days. I also think it's opened up a world of information. The kids now have anything at their fingertips. If they need to know something, they can know it instantaneously. And I think that's really helped in that we are closing some gaps that existed for kids before, kids who had access to information and kids who didn't. Now that's really flattened out and it's become a tremendous equity issue. And I think we're really working hard to make things much more fair across our district for all our students in that respect.
Well, when I think about the impact of technology inside of our schools, certainly there's been a significant evolution over the last 10 years as we look pre-pandemic to post-pandemic. And our focus is really centered around how can technology create access and opportunity for students, while at the same time, we're creating spaces that leverage interpersonal interactions with kids and a sense of belonging and community. I think something that's really important for us to be mindful of is the intersectionality of ed tech in the classroom as part of the teaching and learning process and the amount of time that kids are on their own personal devices and recognizing that both those factors exist in this generation of students and they need to be intentionally recognized and planned for.
How can school districts deal with social media issues that might originate on a social media app, but then creates a very real problem on campus?
I think it's really important that school districts acknowledge that these things are happening in our community and in our students' lives. We cannot separate ourselves from that. Sadly, everything that happens in a student's home life, whatever kind of situation, good, bad, ugly, it all comes to school with them. So we have to address what comes onto campus. We can't just ignore it. And in doing so, we often come across social media concerns.
But school districts really have to deal with the fact that social media creates problems for us on our campus. And we can deal with that a number of ways. One, we can have very clear policy that tells our students and our families exactly what we expect and exactly what we'll do in reaction to those type of threats. Two, we can have very clear cyberbullying policy and make sure that people understand that we don't accept it and that cyberbullying is just as bad as face-to-face bullying. And quite frankly, I think it can be worse. And then, of course, there's not just the cyberbullying because we have the threats to the physical safety of the campus. So we also have to be willing to work very closely with our people on our campuses and law enforcement and take every time someone posts something or says something, we have to take it very seriously and we have to investigate so that we make sure nothing awful happens.
Social media is a significant aspect of our students' lives. And so when I think about its role and its future in our culture and inside of our schools, I think it's essential that we're raising awareness for students and families about the use of technology and both its opportunity to create connections and access and opportunity, while at the same time being cognizant of some of the unintended detrimental impacts with the amount of time that kids are on personal devices and the things that they potentially have access to on social media. Social media is something as a superintendent that it's one of the things that's top of mind because I do think it has enormous potential. But if we are not more responsive and do a better job raising awareness among staff and families of the unintended negative impacts, then we potentially set ourselves up to create harm for our kids and disrupt the teaching and learning process inside of our schools.
Can you provide some examples of how your students may have used their social media in a positive or productive way that may have benefited themselves, their community, or even their future college or career chances?
So I have a great group of students that I meet with monthly, and those students have really used social media in the right way. One of the things that we do is we use a system called interview service tracking, and it is a way that students track their service hours and their volunteerism in our community. They can also, share that, get other kids involved. We are doing it completely in one of our high schools, and they can take that interview tracking with them to college and beyond. Additionally, our students are really great about having recycle wars and things like that and posting it all over their social media. So we are really seeing kids use it for the right reasons.
I have two really good examples of how our students have used social media to promote themselves and promote work inside the schools. It really is going to be a benefit for our community. Number one, I have a high school, Del Norte High School. They have a fabulous esports team, and those kids have expanded it. And now they have a tremendous online presence where they do podcasts, they post results, and you can actually watch their competitions online while they're competing. I think it's fantastic. It's a great promotion for them. It's a great promotion for the activity. Two, we are unfortunately in the midst of a superintendent search here in Albuquerque as I'm getting ready to retire at the end of the year. Another one of my high schools, Valley High School, those kids in their media classroom developed a series of online content and the social media aspect to encourage people to participate in the communication process on what they want in a new superintendent. The kids want to be involved in really important issues, and finding a superintendent's one of them. And I'm really glad those kids did what they did.
Yeah, congrats. That's really neat because we all know that a lot of kids don't even know who their superintendent is. To get them involved in selecting the new one, I think that's really neat.
Yeah, kids want to be involved in that stuff. They really want to be involved in school. They want to be involved in the community. And it was a great opportunity. And they jumped it. They were the ones that offered it to us. We didn't ask them. They came to us and said, we want to do this. And we were glad to let them do it.
I think social media has the opportunity for kids to create connections, to share their learning, share their experiences, share their perspectives. I think there's enormous potential in AI and adaptive assessments and the opportunity to really personalized learning. We've been talking about personalized learning for a while now, but there's some emergent technology and some opportunities to really deeply, authentically personalize kids' experience and their interaction with content. So I think there's enormous potential in that, as well as I think social media is a really important avenue for us to be sharing the story and providing windows, doors, and mirrors of what's happening in our schools. And we want to have mirrors where kids can see themselves in their learning experience. We want windows where they can look out and see the world. And then we want to create doors where we're inviting community in to interact with our students. And social media can be a really effective pathway to nurture those factors.
In the age of one-to-one, how are you preparing students for positive technology use both in the classroom and at home?
Now, I think Rapid City Area Schools takes one-to-one to the extreme. We're doing it with all of our grades, K-12, and what we are doing is really making sure that our students recognize what is acceptable and unacceptable by having many lessons and teaching moments in school about that. Of course, like every school district in every state, we have firewalls in place. We're constantly updating those and changing them. Our IT team is amazing. And we really do monitor anything that we see, we deal with immediately. Our teachers also have access to see what is on their students' computer screens within the classroom. So our teachers can kind of catch things in the classroom that is going on and deal with that. So that's been really helpful as well. I just think we have to stay ahead of the curve on this.
As we moved to one, it's been a real challenge. We were not a district that was prepared to do that, and the pandemic hit and we had to do it. So number one is you've got to establish policies on how you're going to work with the equipment. And we're still struggling with that to an extent as we continue to work through how that looks. Do kids get to take the devices home all the time? Do kids keep them at school? What sites are acceptable? What sites are not? So you've got to have a very clear policy. Secondly, I think for my classroom teachers, they have to have a really clear idea of how they're going to use the device. Are they going to use it as an extension of the classroom? Are they going to use it as a tutor? We do a lot of online tutoring now, so you can use those one-to-one devices to put small groups of kids off to the side, and they can get some help from a person outside the classroom now. It can be a tutor, it can be a coach. You can use it in ways that will help them develop content. But I think is that both as a district and as a classroom teacher, they have really clear objectives and really understand how to use that technology to reach those objectives.
Yeah, well, we know that students are digital natives now, and so kids are touching devices literally from the inception of them being able to pick something up, and they're interacting with those, and they're receiving stimulus, they're receiving exposure to content. In many ways, their brain chemistry is being shaped by their interaction with devices, and we need to be mindful that that's part of their world, is part of their lived experience, and we want fluidity as they enter in the classroom and the school experience to leverage some of the skills that they've been building since they were toddlers on how to operate devices. Incredible potential for personalized learning, for differentiation. We also at the same time need to be cognizant that kids are spending a lot of time on personal devices, and we need to raise awareness and engage in learning opportunities with our communities and with our families and with our kids, that there are some significant health risks, both physically, socially, emotionally, to excessive time on devices and accessing devices to spaces that are unhealthy and unproductive. And so there's enormous potential in the future. It's clearly going to be part of 21st century education, but there needs to be a substantially better job done in raising awareness and educating families about the negative impacts, as well as the really powerful tools that are available to families to help partner with their student in setting healthy boundaries in the use of technology.
Thanks for listening to our smartsocial.com podcast. I'm your host, Josh Oakes. This was our District Talk segment where we interview school district leaders to learn how they're keeping students safe on social media so those students can someday launch into their future by shining online. This episode was brought to you by our smartsocial.com VIP program. It's called the Very Informed Parent Program, which helps you engage your students with teen-led video lessons. Stay one step ahead with our premium parent newsletter and discover hidden features on trending apps on teens' phones and our 54 plus live parent and student-friendly events every single year. You can click on the link below to chat with one of our team members if you want a free pass to our VIP program to support your community with our smartsocial.com resources. And if you're a district leader who has a success story, we would love to feature you on a future episode. You can click the links below to reach out. Thanks so much for listening, and we look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Have a great day.